Unlike when we're exporting to PDF, when we're exporting to Word, we actually use Microsoft Word to design our template up. Now, this is where the true simplicity and power of this solution comes into play. Where when we were exporting to PDF and you had to sort of mess around with HTML and all that kind of stuff, here we're just creating a Word document. So all the things that we create in Word, all the formatting, all the really nice, well, most of the niceties that we get when creating documents with Word, because that's exactly what it's designed for, we're going to get now with our export. So all those things that we're missing, like page breaks and all that kind of stuff, we're now going to get with this solution. The only caveat I'll add to this is that the exporting to Word functionality is a premium connector. So you will require premium license to be able to use this. All right, so the first thing we need to do now is we need to open up Microsoft Word, which is probably a first for this channel. And before we get started, we have to enable, like by default, you probably will not have this developer tab on your within your Word document. Now, this is really easy to enable. All we need to go is File and Options, and under here there's a Customize ribbon, and under our main tabs we can see our developer option here. Mine is already checked, but yours is probably not going to be checked, so just hit the check button and click OK, and now we've got our developer tab available to us. Now, under our developer tab, we've got some options here for controls that we can add to our document. Now, this is where we are going to design where our content from Power Apps is going to be displayed in Word. So you can see now we've got a far more rich and user-friendly environment here to build our export from. Now, some of these, unfortunately, are not available, like rich text control. So if we add a rich text control to this page, we won't be able to see it. It won't be an option for our export, but there's a way around that. So we still will be able to export rich content from Power Apps. So, but firstly, I'm going to set up my Word document. And I'm rubbish at designing Word documents, so don't judge me from that side of things. This is just purely a technical demo, but at the end of this, you'll be able to see, you'll know technically how to do this, and then you'll be able to use your own flourish and your own design skills to build beautiful Word documents from Power Apps content. So first thing I'm going to put here on each page is just an image, and on that image I will show you later how to import some data into that as well, so we can have an image, say, come from SharePoint and display in our or Power Apps even, but in this example I'll show you SharePoint, and we can just load that image from SharePoint directly into our Word document export. Now the next thing if we select that and we go properties, we can change the name of it. So I'm just going to call this doc logo and click OK. So let's just hit enter. And on the next line, I'm going to add a plain text control. Now, in this plain text control, if we just click that control again and we click properties on the toolbar, I'm going to call this doc title. And this is our reference point from Power Apps and Flow, because like with our PDF export, this solution also requires Power Automate or Flow to complete the export. So these properties here that I'm typing in now, these are the property reference names that Power Automate will know where to put this data into. So that's my doc title, and we can go and format this any way we like. So I'm going to make this heading 1, which is amazing. Now, let's hit enter a couple of times. Go back to our developer tab. I'm going to click just plain text again and click properties. I'm going to call this paragraph underscore plain. And I'm going to check this box as well, because this will allow us to put carriage returns or put paragraphs inside of our plain text by default. So if I send some plain text with some carriage returns, it will automatically render them in our Word document. Now, hold on to your hats, people. I'm going to put a page break in here. Awesome. Something we didn't have with exporting to PDF with the previous solution. Now we've got it in our Word doc. So amazing. Life-changing difference when dealing with exporting content. As you know, having content just sort of rolling across multiple pages is really not ideal. So at least now we've got a bit more control over where our page breaks go. So on this page, I'm going to have another, so let's go back to the developer tab, and I'm going to have another plain text. But I'm going to call this rich text display. Actually, I won't bother with, well, yeah, I'll add that. And this is where I'm going to be displaying that rich text from Powerup. But as you've noticed, I've just still used the same control, plain text. But like I said before, I'll show you how to take that rich text from Powerup and display that inside of that control. Now, these other, we won't really need anything else at this stage. So I've got an image control here called doc logo. I've got a another plain text called doc title formatted as a heading. Our plain paragraph here, if I go back to home, this is just normal, which is great. And here, this is just also, let's just make that normal. So yep, they're just taking out normal document template formatting. So let's save that document to a SharePoint library, and then we can go on with the next step. Okay, so I've just got my SharePoint site open here, and I've got a couple of document libraries, one called templates and one called exports. So if we open up the templates document library, and I just quickly open up a window here, just off camera, and find my template and just drag that onto that document library. Okay, so you can see that template that I created in Word is, I just called it template.docx. Now it's not a dot or .x or anything. It's just a plain Word document, and that's how you should be saving that from Word. So that's going to be our reference document that we're going to call from Flow. So the next thing we need to do is open up Flow and create a new flow from instant from blank. And we're going to trigger that from Powerup. And I'm going to call this export to Word. All right, so the first step I want to do is, because we had that image file that I want to push into our Word document, we need to get that content. So I guess the thing I forgot to do here, so if we go back to the templates, I also need to find an image that I want to use for that particular export. And we'll just use the Chino Does Stuff logo. Let me just find that here in my list of stuff. Drag that. Okay, so that image now is sitting in my templates folder, because that's the image I'm going to use with my my export. Let's go back to Flow. So the first thing I need to do is get the file contents from SharePoint. So if I start typing in get file, I can see here we've got a action called get file contents using path. That's the one I want. And in here, we want to load a custom value, and I want to browse to this site. Go back to Flow and just type that in. And under our path, we can click on the little folder, and under here I can see all the document libraries and lists that are available inside of that site. The one I'm looking for is templates, so click on that, or click on the little caret on the right hand side, and I can see those two files. I'm after the image file, and that's it. So I'm grabbing that. So for the next step, I'm looking for my convert to Word. Ooh, if I can type it correctly. And here it is here. Populate a Word document template. See that as a premium connector. I click on that. So where is the location of our template? And we just need that site again. The document library is templates, and the template that we're after is our template.docx. And once I've done that, you can see now all those properties that I created in that document and have now been exposed as values that I can populate inside of my Power Automate, which is awesome. So doc logo, for the doc logo, we just want the content from our get file content using path. So let's click on that. For our rich, well, let's just skip over rich text for the moment. Our doc title, let's ask for that in Power Apps, and our plain paragraph that we added to our template, we're going to ask for that in Power Apps as well. So rich text display, right? So if I click on this, for this particular option, I want to display something a bit more sort of rich from Power Apps inside of words, maybe something with dot points or like different sort of rich formatting, not just plain text. So we can't just ask for that directly in Power Apps, because all that will do is it will just bring over all of our, from our rich text field in Power Apps, it'll just bring over all of our HTML and all the extra junk. And if we just display that in our text field, we'll get all those extra HTML tags. So we don't want that. So before this step, we need to add one more action, and the action will be HTML to text. And our content here will be, let's ask for that one in Power Apps as well. When we're displaying our rich text, we just want to grab the output from that particular step. So the last thing we want to do is we just want to take that export or that Word document, because we still haven't saved it anywhere. We want to save that back to SharePoint. So if I create a new step and I look for a SharePoint action, and the one we want to get is, or the one we want to do is create item, create file in SharePoint. Now, let's grab this URL again for our SharePoint site, because remember we created a document library for our exports. Ooh, let's just hit custom value again. Chuck that in there. Now if we browse, we can find exports. So for file name, I want to do something a little bit different. I actually want to make that dynamic, and I want to take the doc title that we've assigned or we passed to this flow from Powerapps, and I want to make that a part of the file name. So there's a little bit of a trick how to get how to do this. So if we click on file name and I go to expression and I add this concat function, but then I go back to dynamic and I scroll down and I can see that here's that doc title value that I passed to our flow, and I click on that. Now it's populated part of our concat function here. If I go up and I click comma, and our second string, I believe it is just single quotes, and we just want to put a doc x at the end of that. The last thing we need to do here is just grab the actual content of the file that we want to save as our Word document. And if we click on that, we've got our prompt here that we can see that our here are all of our different steps, and we can just grab the populate Word document template and we can add that particular field, and that's just coming from this step. Last thing we need to do here is just click save. So let's go back to Powerapps and let's create a quick Power App to test our Word export out. Let's create a Canvas app from blank, and let's just call this Word export. Okay, so remember we need a few fields here, so let's insert a text, a label first, I guess, and we'll call it, we'll just add document title. Let's make that bold and insert a text field. And that's where our doc title will be saved. And let's create another label, and we'll call this paragraph plain. And we'll just insert another text field. And we'll make that multi-line because it's a paragraph. And we need one more paragraph rich. Now for this particular, let's just bold that first. For this one, we need a different control rather than a plain text, but like I said, we want to show some additional formatting here. We want this rich text editor. Let's just make sure these are named correctly. Paragraph plain. And under here, let's call this paragraph rich. This outputs HTML, and from our flows point of view, it doesn't matter if this comes from a rich text control or it comes from a HTML control. All we're expecting, all Power Automate is expecting, is a block of HTML text. The final thing we need to do now is just to add our button to our Power App that will call our Power Automate. So let's go and insert that. Let's drop that down there. And under its action, let's get Power Automate, and we're going to call Export to Word. Now the great thing about Power Apps when you're calling Power Automate, it shows you the like basically what that command is expecting. So we can see here there's 3 parameters our Power Automate is expecting from Power Apps, and the 3 parameters that we configured our Automate for was our doc title, our paragraph plain, and our HTML content from our rich text control. So let's add that in now. So our first one is our doc title, so we called that doc title, and we just need to reference its text value. Our second parameter is our paragraph plain, which is this our block of plain text, which is txt paragraph plain dot, and that's just text value as well. And our final one is our rich text field, and that is, we called that paragraph rich, and the reference on that control is HTML text. So that is just confirmation as well that this control produces HTML content. Close that off. And if we run that Power App, let's give our document a title. So let's call this YouTube demo. In our paragraph here, let's just give it a block of text. And for our rich text, let's do something a little bit different here, just to show off the rich text functionality. And let's add a few dot points. So dot point 1, well, they're not dot points, they're numbered list, but same thing. Dot point 2 and 3 dot point 3. Before we go, let's also make this a bit nicer here. Let's call this export to Word. Just label that button. All right, let's give this a go. Let's hit export to Word, which should call our flow. If we go over to flow and we have a look at the output, you can see that's currently running. Let's hit refresh and it's succeeded. That's a really good sign. Let's go over to our communication, our SharePoint site. And so we're looking at our template document library at the moment. So we need to browse our all site content. We need to go to our exports. And we can see that we've created a document there, YouTube demo, which is what I gave the title. So we click that and preview it. We have got our Word document all populated from our Power App. So we have our image that it's brought in from our templates library. We've got our doc title, and we have our paragraph of text that we inputted, and also our rich text display. So that's our Word document created. Super easy, way easier than our previous process of exporting to PDF. And hey, look, if you really wanted a PDF version of this at this point in time, you could just go save as, download as PDF. And open that up, and now we have a PDF version of it as well. So hey, that could be an option, just to give your users the option themselves to create a PDF from our export. Or you could, in later videos, we might even explore how to automate that process. But hey, that is, in my mind, that is so much simpler than our previous ways that we've exported content from Power Apps. And, obviously, this is moving forward. We're going to be able to create much more richer documents using our export to Word functionality. Hit the like button if you like this video, comment something in the comments section below, and of course subscribe if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening on this channel. I thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.